When I started my creative journey, I heard a lot about goals, business plans, to-do lists, and productivity. However, I don't ever recall anyone mentioning the importance of artistic values and how embedding my projects in the context of my artistic values could impact the outcome of my work and growth or stagnation of my creative art practice. I established my filmmaking practice in 2004 with no clear vision on how to run my own creative art practice or how to leverage my neurodiverse traits to make it work for me. It's important to mention my neurodiversity in this context, as for majority of my life I had no idea how much my difficulties and unmet neurodiverse needs have shaped and influenced my path, my life choices, and the way I approach my art practice. After setting up my art practice, I devoted 100% of my focus to copying what other people around me were doing, as the narrative was to find someone who was successful and copy their path, aka steps, they took to get where they were. I'm a dedicated person, so if I set my mind on something, I do it with all my energy and creativity. So I jumped into action without giving myself time to reflect, be present, and allow creativity to flow naturally. But in real world, no two journeys are the same, which means that copying what others have done won't necessarily bring the same results. I think if I had solid artistic values back then, that were inclusive of my neurodiverse ways of sensing the world, it might have prevented me from getting distracted by following someone else's path instead of finding my own. By following what others were doing instead of trusting my creativity and intuition, I found myself strengthening my dependency on toxic productivity. As an addict of constant doing, I kept re-engaging with toxic productivity, even after periods of prolonged creative burnouts, which consumed my life and work. After years of copying what others were doing and engaging with toxic productivity without breaks or reflection, I suddenly saw how this approach was destroying my creative practice and how unsustainable that path was. After allowing myself to understand my own creative process and how my body and soul engage with creativity, I created space inside and outside of myself to help me reimagine what kind of creative practice I wanted to build. I wanted my art practice to be based on creative values, not on copying what others were doing. The clarity and understanding of my creative and artistic process didn't happen overnight. The process for me began at the start of 2014, which coincided with my creative burnout. I consider going back to higher education in 2021 to be the turning point in my relationship with my own creativity and the end of my creative burnout. I spent those 7 years trying to figure out myself, my creativity, and how I could base my creative art practice within the context of my artistic values. That in between time helped me realize what was significant to me as an artist and creative individual, what was essential for me to run a long-term, sustainable art practice, how to set and protect my creative boundaries and creative space, how to disengage from toxic productivity, integrate kinder practices such as meditation, taking time off, and walking into my creative art practice. Working on projects while engaging with my creative values has helped me focus on deep work without being pulled in a million different directions, create projects that come from within rather than from the outside, reconnect with my creative self, strengthening my understanding of my own creative art practice, creative patterns, and challenges I face. When it comes to my artistic values, some of them are be inclusive and understanding of my neurodiverse needs. Nothing gets wasted and everything needs to be reused as much as possible. Minimalistic approach to projects. This approach stems from my experience in filmmaking on small budgets, where I had to make the most of whatever resources I had available at the time to save money. Allow intuition to guide the project or idea development. For a long time, I've been doubting my instinct and intuition, hence, now I make sure I follow my gut feeling. When in doubt, I leave decision making until I feel confident about my decision. Choose slow productivity over toxic productivity. I sometimes still get carried away and work against what my body tells me. However, I'm getting pretty good at recognizing signs that something isn't working for me or disagrees with my body, which means that I have to step away. Slow productivity embraces my neurodiverse needs, taking away the pressure toxic productivity inflicted on me to deliver as soon as possible. Prioritize quality over quantity. I don't want to do something just for the sake of doing it. Such approach only leads to a creative burnout in my case. Focusing on quality means that at times I have to step away from my work to be able to breathe and have the space to think so I can come back with fresh ideas and fresh creative energy. Prioritize long-term creative sustainability with a focus on both environmental and financial impact. If tired and irritated, walk away and rest. It applies to work and everyday life. I hope you will be able to define your own artistic values, which could help you build a kinder approach to creativity and running a creative art practice based on artistic values that align with your work, life, and values.